All right, guys, one more time here. I want to kind of explain how I do this. Billy taught me this back in the 80s whenever he was working on bats for different bat manufacturers out there, Easton being the first one, Louisville Slugger, and then Steels there in the later 80s. He was actually the one that developed the Steels bat. You guys ever swung that bat, you know, the one that made that pow sound. That was Billy's design. And Billy didn't patent any of this stuff. Well, I was just lucky enough to be around Billy during the time and absorb a lot of things he was talking about. And I actually start talking about that about 12 years ago. When I started talking about weight distribution, there is a lot of guys out there, this is nothing new. A lot of guys out there talk about weight distribution in bats. And a lot of guys are freaks out there about it when they talk about it. So what I want to go through here, there was a video out, talked about scaling. Is it flawed? Scaling's flawed. And there was about a 10-minute video talking about it. I have some problems with the video. The guy that put the video out, I talked to him for the last year about bats that we talked about weights, and his weights were off from my weight. And I was talking to him about how are you getting, you know, a 17.5, a 17 ounce end load on the Anarchy bat when the Anarchy 50 cal came out. And I was talking to him about it. I said, man, I'm not getting those numbers that you are. And I said, as a matter of fact, you know, first, you know, I'm going to kind of go through some talking points here. I've got bullet points here that I'm going to talk about. So my question to him was, whenever you have a senior bat, I'm going to throw this one up there. When you have a senior bat, you put your numbers up, and I'm going to show you guys how I do my numbers. But you'll put your numbers up. You know, you have the weight of the bat, which this one's a 26, you know, 26. This one's a 26 ounce. 25.5 is my weight on it that I scaled it at. 16.8 on the end load, and an 8.4 on the hands. Well, I like that weight. That weight is awesome. That's my personal swinging weight. A lot of you guys need to get this. You need to get your personal swinging weight. Yours is going to be different than mine, depending on your bat speed. Everything's got a lot of things to do with it. I'm going to kind of go through a few of them tonight. I've always preached this in my videos. I've always preached this in my videos about it's a formula when picking a bat. I am confused when guys talk about, does it have a half ounce end load or full ounce end load? Because in theory, if you really do, you know, I'm going to throw some stuff here. I've got two cameras going. I've got that one there and I've got this one right here. And what I want to talk to you about is, you know, this is, I don't understand when they talk about end load, because this came off of a DeMarini senior bat. That's off of a 27 ounce. You see how big that plug is? That's off a 27 ounce. So when people talk about, you know, does it have a half ounce or a full ounce end load? I'm going to put this on the scale right there. And that's got 3 ounces on the end. You know, there's another one here. This is a smaller one. It's got cut in half, but I'll throw that one on there. That one's got 1.1 ounces. So when you guys talk about, you know, half ounce end load, you know, does it have a half ounce end load or a full ounce end load? I don't know where they're getting those numbers from. Because when you pull that cap, you know, when that cap's loaded in that end plug, which Miken doesn't do, you know, Miken pours everything into the ass end of bats. They used to do it. I don't know if they do it now since they changed manufacturers. So what I want to talk about is scaling. You know, when talking about the half ounce end load, I don't know where they get that from. I'm not going to go any further into that. So what we started doing years ago was swinging weight. You know, a lot of guys used to do it back in the day, and you guys remember this, where they would pull the weight off the end of the table and they would get a balance point on it. And I've never done that. I've seen people do it, you know, and they kind of measure and get where their balance points are at on the bat, and they pick bats that way. I never did that. I always felt it in my hands. It had a big mass on the end. I liked it, you know, and I turned it around and kind of, you know, would fling the end of it like that. And I would sit there, and I'm pretty good at judging how many ounces it's got. And then if it had small, weight at the knob, I kind of liked it because I like that sledge effect, not too much because you can slow your bat speed down, but I kind of like that sledge effect for distance. And it's not only, like I've preached this in the past, guys, it's not only about distance, because if I'm hitting the ball 10, 15 feet further, okay, that's good, but it's not all about home runs. If you guys have seen my stats, I don't hit a lot of home runs when I play senior ball. It's the ball getting through the infield that I like. It's that extra gear that I like, because you're going to hit gaps, you're going to burn people, you're going to hit gaps, you're going to hit doubles and stuff like that. That's how come we pick a top performing bat to be in our top 10. Because if I'm going to if Bubba gets distance on it, Billy gets distance on it, that means if you hit that ball down, it's going to just get by an infielder. So that's the reason why we like distance, because it's the same. You're going to get that same quality of bat swing when you hit that ball down, gets to the infield, gets in gaps. You burn guys, especially if you cut it. But what I want to talk about is there's a video out there about scaling. I'm going to show you guys how I scale. And I'm going to go over it again. And I'm going to talk about the numbers that this gentleman was having was flawed. And like I was talking about, with that bat, here it is right here, and I was talking about these numbers right here, and a 16.8 and an 8.4. If you add the bottom and the top number, the bottom, if you add the knob and the end weight together, you're going to get pretty close to your total weight when you put it on a scale. And I was telling him this, and he was coming out like an ounce heavier, not on the total weight of the bat, but on the total weight of the end plug. And I said, that's something wrong there, because it's almost like you do your numbers, and then what you do is you combine the knob weight to the end weight. And if your number's pretty close, it's not going to be exact, guys, but it's not going to be an ounce and a half off, which this guy was putting up. And I was saying, there's something wrong. You're doing something wrong. Well, let me explain the way I do it. Okay. And I kind of found out by accident on what he was doing wrong. Get a piece of bat tape. And I've measured this. I've leveled this. Not this, but the barrel of the bat. Get a piece of bat tape. You're going to have it over here, right? You're going to take this bat. I'm going to use this one right here. No, I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to use this other one. I'm going to use this one here. You're going to take this bat, and you're going to weigh right in the middle. You guys can see my line there. It's right in the middle. You're going to put that bat right on the middle, and you're going to weigh it. 26.1. Okay? Then you get your number, and then you're going to take it, you're going to weigh the end plug. That's a 16 on this, right? That's the way you get it. I hope you can see it. You can't see that. There you go. And you put it right in the middle. I have a line drawn. You put it right on that line. Now you're going to flip it, and you're going to put that on top of that bat tape, and you're going to put it right in the middle again, and you get your knob weight, which is a 9.8. Now you see how you got a cuff on there, right? Well, when you have these on here, it's going to mess with, because you're supposed to do it without any tape on it, but I'm kind of telling you how I do it. But what you do is, if you look, I'm going to weigh this, right? So you have weight here. So that weight is, a little over half an ounce on that knob cuff. So you have this on the knob of that bat. Anytime you add it to the knob of that bat, you're adding weight to the handle. Weight to the handle is not necessarily a good thing. It's not. I think it slows your hands down, and it puts too much weight in your hands. You're not going to get that whip effect that everybody desires when they're hitting the ball pretty far. And I done messed that up. I'm going to have to fix that. So what I would do is not use a knob cuff. Hopefully that's right on, so I don't have to mess with it. Yeah, it is. So what I don't ever use a knob cuff. This is Billy's bat. He uses a knob cuff. So what I found out, that if you guys remember my weights right here, and they are 16, right? That's what I got a while ago. Well, when you don't use bat tape, I'm gonna stop it. Look at my numbers go up. 17-1. So what you're doing here, guys, is if you guys can see this part of the bat is hitting right on this corner. It's not level. The bat's actually cocked. Well, I put a long time ago, 12 years ago when I was doing this, I made sure this was level, and what I found that you could put under this side would be a piece of bat tape. What that does is that elevates this barrel where right here is hitting in the middle of the scale. That's how come a lot of you guys are doing this wrong. Because once you take that, like that's your true number right there, 16. You take that off and you put that weight on the outside of that scale, it torques the scale and adds more weight to your influx. So when you're doing all these weights and you're talking, okay, you actually think the end load's heavier, and it's not. So you put your numbers out there, and that number, you know, combined, like I talked about a minute ago, that number combined with the bottom number doesn't match this top number. It's got to get close. I'm not telling you it's going to be exact, but it's got to get close. It can't be an ounce off, in which that was, because I'm not putting the bat tape underneath it. When you scale your bats, guys, and it does work, it's not flawed. It's the closest we can get. It's the most accurate we can get is the way I do it. Use bat tape. Put it under the end and then do them that way. Another thing too, what he was talking about was, I have a bat right here that doesn't have an end plug in it. This is a balanced Miken Ultra 2, the black. Now, I hope that still go. Now what I'm doing is, he was talking about the end plug out of this bat, and he was pulling up some weird ass numbers. And again, that's a 14.6. I've never weighed a bat with an end plug in it that had a 14.6 end load. This one without the end plug has a 14.6 end load. All right. Let me tell you what makes a balanced bat. Right here. Handle weight. A lot of you guys are talking about end weight on balance. Don't worry about the end weight. What changes everything is hand weight to make it a balanced bat. You want to go to a mid load, you put more hand weight into it. You want to go to a balance, you put a lot more hand weight into it. So you got 11 ounces on this end. Okay, on this knob weight, 11 ounces. Doesn't have any weight in the end. So this, swinging it like it is right now, which you wouldn't, but swinging it just like it is right now, you know, 14.6, and then you pull this off again, and you've got a 15.5. So when he was doing those comparisons with no weight on the end, that's how come his numbers were so high on the end on his scale, because he's not using elevation on his knob to get that corner off of that bat, because it's torquing the scale. So let me talk to you guys. I'll use another bat here. Let me talk to you guys after I got through doing that. Balance points. What we look for, me and Billy and Bubba, and we've done this for years, is we look for balance points. 16.3 on this one. We want to find balance points in these bats. Now, another thing too, guys, always check your scale. Make sure it's zeroed out, because that'll mess your numbers up too if you don't constantly check your numbers to make sure it's zeroed out. And then you put your end plug 16.4. Now what we do is we want to get a balance point on these bats. And this is just, you know, I got this on here just to show you guys, you know, less handle weight, you know, more end weight. If that end weight goes up, it's going to change your balance point to a little bit further out to the end, and less handle weight. Less handle weight will change your balance points. That's how come we weigh them. I've been preaching this for years, guys. It's all a formula when you're picking up a bat. I just wish, you know, this is the most accurate way that I know of doing it. I wish a bat company would come up with a device that actually marks bats on where balance points are at, or even give you a number on where balance points are at. I think that would be a lot better, but until we have that we can look at bats and tell what the balance points are, this is the way we got to do it. And I talk to guys that are around that actually weigh their bats too, Bobby Gilbert being one of them. His numbers are pretty close to mine. It's nothing where it's all out. as accurate. It's not going to be very accurate, like it's not going to pull you up the exact same numbers, but they're going to get pretty damn close to them. That way we can pick. Everybody that hits with me will go up and look at my numbers that I have on every one of these bats. If you guys can see, I've got numbers written on all of these bats. They'll actually go through the pile and pick a balance point that they like. I can tell, Billy can tell, Bubba can tell when we're looking at a bat and we're doing a review on it, that if those balance points aren't like high at the end, they're low at the, they're like, if it's not too heavy here and it's heavy here, we're gonna have a problem with distance. That's how come when this gentleman was talking about, he has guys that show up to hit with him and they wanna know exactly what the balance points are at and they'll pick a bat. And he says that, this is his opinion though, he says that he doesn't see that a bat performs different. Well, it has a lot to do with mass, and I preached this for years. Has a lot to do with mass on the end, right? Less handle weight gives you that sledge effect and that whip. You can't get that whip, guys. You can't get that whip with a balanced bat, a true balanced bat. Now, mid-load you can. Carlos Vega, actually, since we have a Onyx here, Carlos Vega over the years has started, I got to pull this off actually because that'll mess up all my weights. Carlos Vega over the years has started, way in the weights, 8'3". Now guys, Mikens are about a 9'1", 9'2", 9'3". Johnny Bailey's a 9'7" on a 27-ounce bat. So Carlos Vega started loading his bats light on the hands. Miken, a little heavier on the hands. That's gonna affect the performance, guys. And I keep telling people this. I only have another, here you go with, you have Suncoast here, and I really can't test that balance point because of that right there. But, well, I can tell you exactly what's written on here. You have a 9 on a 26 ounce, right? You have a 9 ounces on the hands. That's without all this tape and everything, and after all that knob cup was off there. So you have a 9 here. So Suncoast knows the formula a little bit. Miken just needs to, and Worth needs to get away from loading their hands too heavy because it's going to affect the performance. And I've said this for 12, 13 years that we've been doing this. Another thing too, I'm going to kind of go off and talk about a bunch of stuff that I've talked about in the past. Dense mass, guys. You see this right here? You see how big that plug is? You see how big that plug is? Those are both off of a 27-ounce bat. This is DeMarini, this is Onyx. Onyx doesn't do this anymore. They actually took that away where you see that big ass concave in there. They don't do that no more, both 27 ounce. This plug right here, although it's been cut in half, right? This plug right here came off of a 27-ounce bat. Both, if you weighed them, both would be the same in weight. Now, this is Suncoast, Adidas. Same, all of the, if you guys cut open a OG or a 2.0, you'll notice that he works with dense mass. You guys see that? That's dense mass. You see how he's got a bunch of, what they call ball bearings in there? Bearings, not ball bearings, but they're bearings in there, right? Dense mass. This will affect the performance. The bat will perform better with this than it will with this. And the reason I'm saying that is because of here. I'm gonna knock shit over. You have this being in this barrel that much. Well, what you're doing is you're shortening your barrel. Billy always talks about this and behind the scenes when he talks about that. You're actually making that barrel that big. Well, what happens with Suncoast whenever they do it, they're making the barrel a half an inch longer for you. When you do that, you're gonna open up your sweet spot a little bit better on your bat, which better performance. So that's how come I always preach dense mass when I talk about things, kind of bring it down. I have a, look at this right here. This is a Louisville Slugger. They're off of a 27-ounce bat. Look at that shit. That's deadening the bat, guys. That's right there. You're not having that barrel absorb anything. It's actually gonna deaden it. Right there, that's too much mass. If you can condense that down to about 1/4 of an inch in the end of that end plug, the performance on that bat would be better. I've heard a lot of guys out there talk about 13 inch versus a 14 inch, 13 inch versus a 12 inch, the bigger the barrel. Let me tell you what that does. It changes your balance points. And I really don't have a 12 inch here, but you guys kind of bear with me here. When I got two bats, one's a 12 inch, one's a 13 inch, and they both have the same numbers that I have here, right? They both have those same numbers. And you set them out here, you weigh them, you get your weights on them. What happens with these bats, or this too, what happens is, this is a 13 inch. I think it's a little bit bigger. This is the Enough Said bat. This bat, a little over 13 inches. I don't think it's a 13 and a half. I think it's 13 and a quarter, right? So they're both the same, the 12 inch compared to the 13 inch. And I thought I had a 12 inch here. That's not it, it's gotta be outside. So I got a 12 inch, 13 inch, same numbers. The 12 inch will swing better than the 13 inch. And the reason is because you have that balance point because of the barrel length. The balance point has moved up, not a lot, has moved up about a 1/4 inch on that 12 inch than a 13 inch. A lot of you guys talk about, well, I just can't hit a 12 inch. Well, because your balance points have moved for one reason. And when you guys swing a 12 inch, when hand to eye coordination, you're hitting that ball within a 2 inch on the bat. 2 inches on the bat. That's where you're hitting that ball every time. Unless your timing's off, then you're gonna hit it everywhere. But if your timing is on, you're gonna hit that ball on that bat within 2 inches. So what happens when you grab a 12 inch, your swinging weight is off. That's how come you guys can, and I keep telling you guys, some guys will ask me, well, hey Dave, why does it take me so long to get used to a 12 inch? Because you got to swing them, guys. You just can't pick the shit up in a couple of batting sessions and all of a sudden you don't like it, so you throw it to the side. You've got to hit a couple of months, guys. And I've talked about this in other videos, because you got to put the reps in. You got to keep hitting. You don't give up on it, because in theory, the 12 inch will perform better than the 13 if they're made by the same people, right? And one's a 12 and one's a 13. Balance points moves up the barrel. Whenever you go to 12, from a 13 to a 12, it moves up a little bit. You just got to get used to the swinging weight. 12 will perform better because of the swinging weight. It's all about getting that whip on the end of that bat. Let me look, see what else I got here. I keep talking about it's a formula, guys. Another thing too, and I got to put this up, is I had a long discussion with a bat manufacturer, and he kind of called me out on something. And what he was telling me, and I hope I can get this to work, guys. What he was telling me, and I kind of show it right here because I zeroed out. I got my weights right here, which is 17.2. I'm going to kind of a split screen. Maybe you guys can see it. I've got a 17.2 there. And what he was telling me, and I was hearing him talk on the phone. I was going, really? Like, I was taking it all in, but I didn't want to tell him that it's full of shit, because I didn't want to get an argument with him. What he was telling me, that in the barrel, you can have this weight on the end, right, sitting there. Now it's a 22, 20 ounces, 0.2. He was telling me that if you took this and ran it all the way up and down the barrel, it would still be a 20.2. Well, I did a video on it. I didn't put it out, but I'm going to kind of do it on this video. No, it doesn't work that way, because when you start putting that weight all up and down that barrel, it actually takes more weight off that 20.2. So you got a 20.2, should have a 20.2 there. Shit, I'm covering up, but you guys can see that. Now I'm going to move it in the middle, right? And you've got a 19.6. So I'm going to move it down here. Hopefully I can get these to, then you got a 19. Did I say a 20.6 or 19.6 here? 19.6. Then you got up down here, it should be like a 19. The further you go down the barrel, and I'm not probably going to be able to balance down here, the further you have it going down the barrel, the less weight on the end, is what I'm saying. So he was trying to tell me that it doesn't matter where you put it on the barrel. it automatically just puts all that weight on the end. It doesn't work that way. That's how come the formula that I'm talking about, there's things I'm not going to talk to you about. Things that me and Billy discovered years ago about how to make bats better. There's a couple of things, and we've talked about this in the past, but moving the weight up and down that barrel actually changes performance on this bat, any bat that you put out there. Now, I'm talking about two of the bats are the same kind of bats. Two of the bats. If you took this bat and you did this like next to each other and you changed this bat, that's actually a 12-inch, dude. I bet that is. That's a 12-inch. So if you took those bats and put them next to each other, I'm not talking about this versus Miken, because all these bats, now I just got this today and it just reminded me right now. I got a text message today about going up in weight. Whenever you go up in weight, a lot of guys think that the bat's going to perform better. Not necessarily. Because to go up in weight, they got to add that ounce somewhere. Now, bat manufacturers aren't all the same. So what they do is they started adding weight wherever they can. Because I don't know if their engineers aren't as in tune with senior softball players or any kind of softball player. They actually add the weight anywhere. Just to let you know, this bat right here, we've got a 26, 27, and a 28. The 28 I ordered because I wanted more mass on the end. Well, when I got the 28, it had a 10.3 handle weight. Now, I know they had to do that, but what they did was they added too much weight in the hands. Well, that's going to deaden the performance on the 28, so I would get better performance moving down to a 26. As long as I had mass, that was my numbers on the end. Guys, I don't mean to confuse you, but that's where this shit has gone. And I've been preaching this in videos. I've got over 2,000 videos on YouTube right now where I'm preaching this 12 years ago about everything's a formula. Every bat manufacturer develops their bats totally different. The guy that questioned about the Mikens, he was talking about Miken 26, 27, and 28. If he goes up in weights, where are they going to add the weight? Well, in theory, everybody is supposed to add a half an ounce to the knob and a half an ounce to the end. But guys, I've been doing this for a long time. They don't do that. So that's how come I weigh all my stuff. I put them out there. That's how come the deal about a 26, 25, 26, 27, and 28 are just not existent, I think. Because bat manufacturers will put that weight anywhere on the bat. A lot of you guys that understand what I'm talking about will call me up and say, what bat do you get the best performance on? What they're really asking me is what bat has less handle weight, more end weight that you can handle. So, but your bat speed's not like my bat speed. Your bat speed's not like Billy's bat speed. My bat speed isn't what it was 5 years ago. So you're just going to have to test. That's how come I always say test your bat speed, see where it's at. A lot of you seniors out there, then you can come up with some numbers. You know, I keep preaching 9.5 is the highest you should go on your hands if you're an end-loaded guy. You know, and depending, that's the hands. I'm not talking about the end load. Depending on your bat speed, you're going to have to pick a number on the end loads that you actually want. Just on your bat speed, because a higher bat speed, you can actually add some big mass on that end. Lower bat speed, guys, you can't add too much mass. You still want to keep up the bat speed though, because you add too much mass, bat speed's going to go down, and performance on your bat will go down. That's how come a lot of guys will grab a Miken, you know, or another bat that's out there. And even the Suncoast, like I said, 28 ounce, swung good, but you can feel that weight on your hands, and it doesn't swing like a true end load. So what they did with the Suncoast on the 28, they turned it more like a balance bat. And the end load really wasn't up there. Really, it's 16.8, 16.9 on the end load on a 28 ounce, but they had 10.3 on the hands. It just deadened the performance of that bat, and we got better performance on the 26, which that review's coming out. These are just little things I wanted to go through with you guys about weighing bats, you know, and the way to weigh them, the way that I weigh them. And guys, this is the most accurate way. It's not accurate way that I know. Unless you come up with some kind of machine that actually does this for you and put marks on the bat, you know, one day it probably will get out there. But until then, this is the way that I do it. And I do it for 12, 13 years right now, and I do it to every bat that I have. I use the same scale, I use the same method. This is what you need. Easy roll of bat tape. You put it on there, you weigh your bats. You know, you got to elevate it where it hits in the middle. Always weigh them in the middle, not off the side, not hanging over here. You got to put them right in the middle, and then weigh all your bats, make sure it's elevated, and then write those numbers on that bat and get your formula. Thanks, guys.